Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is my very first video and I hope you will like it. Today we're settling a big hot debate. What in the end is better? Digital notes or handwritten notes? I have many years of working experience myself, and during that time I used and tried many different approaches to note-taking. I tried a lot, I failed a lot, and I have something to share. The nature of my job forces me to take notes a lot. I do tasks, I do notes, I do mind maps, practically any type of notes you can imagine. I also want to mention that people are different and the same approach to a note-taking may work for me but may not work for you. And even for the same person, the more comfortable approach to a note-taking may change with time, and this is also completely fine. There's actually a huge difference between how we do note-taking when we're studying and when we're working. Because when we study, we intend to reread these notes at some point, and maybe to a certain extent it makes sense to make it look nice, to make it readable. I know a lot of students, they use highlights, they use different bullet journal practices to make it look more neat. At work, it's different. The point with notes at work is, first, you usually don't have a lot of time to write it down, and the speed is everything. And second of all, you may check this note once or twice after that, but usually once and that's it. So you don't need to put a huge amount of effort to make it nice and neat, because it just doesn't make any sense. So let's start with handwritten notes. The first big benefit of the handwritten note is you don't have any limitations with the format. You just have a piece of paper and a pen. You can do whatever you want. You can do lines with tasks, or you can do tables, or you can do mind maps, anything that you need. The second benefit is the satisfaction that we experience when we do handwritten notes. When I grab my notepad and I write down the task, there is something nicely pleasing in the vibe of doing a handwritten notes. This is a certain aesthetics, and I think it also matters because it increases our satisfaction from the job that we're actually doing. The third benefit, which actually is not really obvious, but when you do a handwritten notes, you feel less detached from the person you're talking to. Because, for example, when you're having a Zoom call and you have to do digital notes, you have to either go alt tab all the time to switch between the picture of the person and the notes. When you talk to a camera and making notes, sometimes the person you're talking to cannot really tell if you're making notes, or maybe you're answering the message, or you're already distracted by something. But when I use a pen and a notebook, the actual physical notebook, it's easier for the other person to understand, yes, it looks like I'm writing down something, it looks like I'm listening to you. So I think this is an obvious kind of benefit. It helps a little bit with the connection to the other person. On the other hand, there are two really big drawbacks of handwritten notes. And first of all, we are all tempted to make it look nice. There is a certain satisfaction in looking at straight lines of text in your notebook. But when you're doing your notes at work, you don't have a luxury of time to make it nice. It won't make any sense. So you're tempted to make it nice, but actually it never really pays off. And the second pretty obvious drawback is that it's really hard to send it to someone. If you're having a meeting and you have to send meeting minutes after that, you have to retype it in your laptop. So it's actually quite inconvenient. Setting physical notes aside, let's talk digital notes. And the first big benefit is you don't have to carry a notebook with yourself all the time. You can only grab your laptop, go to the meetings if you're at the office. You don't need to carry anything but your laptop to be fully equipped for the meeting. The second benefit, if you actually master a skill of making a notes while sitting on the meeting in the form that is more or less ready to send, so not like a raw text, but an actual phrases that you can share with someone, which is a little bit of a complicated skill. You have to train it, but if you master that, this is a phenomenal time saver. Another benefit is if you already know what kind of a structure you need for a particular task, digital notes could bring a lot of organization in the process. For example, when I knew that I have several projects, I need to track several tasks within this project, I use Notion because I knew there is a table database functionality in it. And if I will tag the projects and link tasks to the projects, it will be super convenient for me to track the actual progress. So I knew the structure that I want to have, and I more or less knew what do I want from the digital tool. And of course, it worked much better for me than a handwritten note. And this brings us to a first drawback of digital notes, because you need to have separate tools for separate tasks. With the paper, you are free to pick any format you like, but in digital notes, it's a little bit harder. And if you want to be efficiently using this format, you have to pick different instruments for each task. For example, if I want to use mind map, I would rather use a specific browser tool for mind maps. If I want to do task tracking, I would rather use Notion, but rarely there is something that would cover all of the needs that I have and would be convenient enough for me. And another drawback of a digital note is also maybe not obvious one, but you only do one type of task. During the whole working day, you're only looking at your laptop, and you don't give your brain a change of the cognitive task. Basically, you don't give yourself a break of changing the type of the activity that you're doing. So from that point of view, handwritten notes could be more beneficial for us. So now, what's the approach that I'm currently using in my work? First of all, I start with the idea of how would I use these notes afterwards. So efficiency for me at work is key. So I pick what type of the notes I want to use depending on how I will use it afterwards. So the general answer would be, it depends. If I need a lot of freedom in the format, I would use a physical notebook. If I go to a meeting and I don't know what to expect, I think I would rather grab a laptop and a notebook to make simple notes, to draw something if I would need to, so it gives me a little bit of a freedom. At the same time, if I already know what type of notes I will be making, for example, I know that we'll have a brainstorm and I will build a mind map with the team, then of course I would rather use a digital tool to make these notes. So in the end, the tool that I'm using to take notes can change over time, and this is completely fine. I would advise keep it open-minded, listen to yourself, look closer at the nature of your job, and pick what fits your particular job and your particular task. Don't be afraid to change it if you don't like it or you feel that it doesn't really serve the task and hold you back. I myself notice that sometimes I get a little bit attached to a type of note-taking system that I use, which is completely unreasonable, and we shouldn't be afraid of changing it. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want something more, click my latest uploads. This is my first video, so I don't know if it will be here or there, but somewhere there. See you soon.